I wish Rand was here because this book is called The Dragon Reborn.
You probably know something about women.
He probably does. Better than Matt and Perrin, at least. Or one of them.
Hey there, Nomads of Lore. I'm Sean.
And I'm Jonathan.
And together we are Mead and Mischief, your home away from no home. Today we're going to be reviewing Book 3 of the Wheel of Time, The Dragon Reborn.
Even though the dragon only appears in the
Basically not in this
beginning
book.
and the end.
Spoilers! Well, not really.
Oh, yeah.
Not really. So, just so you know, this is going to be a totally spoiler-filled review. I have no intention of making spoiler-free. This is book 3. At this point, either you want to keep reading it or you don't. You're not even to the slump yet. So, yeah, spoiler-filled.
Yep. Click off. So today our format is going to be, we're going to start with giving you a small summary-ish of the book, which is going to be hopefully shorter than reading the book. So there's positives.
Yeah.
And then we will give you the pros and cons, the things we liked and the things we disliked about the book. And then we'll give you our final thoughts, and then we'll be done.
We out.
Yeah. So let's get started.
At the beginning of the book, we see Rand, and he's been studying the prophecies of the Dragon Reborn and the Koreathon cycle or something along those lines. I don't know, saying it wrong or whatever else. But he's been studying all this stuff, and so he's still very resistant to his destiny. He is for a long time. But he decides, okay, since he said he was the Dragon Reborn at the end of the last book, he needs to go to Tyr and pull the sword Kalendor from Tyr, because that's what the Dragon Reborn is supposed to do. That's one of the first big signs. And so he decides he's going to do that. And so he sneaks away and he runs off. He's pursued by dark hounds and dark friends. And he's kind of acting a little bit Smeagol-ish or Gollum-ish. He's a little bit bonkers, maybe not quite as Gollum-ish as Matt way early with the dagger stuff, but he's acting pretty nutso at this point. So we're starting to worry. It's like, okay, we're in book 3. He's already bonkers. But he runs away, and then everybody's like, oh no, Rand left. It's terrible. And so Moraine leaves with Lan, of course, her warder, and Perrin goes with them. And they all go to decide, and they follow him. And they figure he's going to Tyr, I think. I don't remember for sure, or if they had that idea. But they basically start to follow this trail of, instead of breadcrumbs, of weird stuff. And that's really the best way to describe it. You know, they come to this village where like 5 bazillion people got married on the same day, and there's some other bad stuff that happens, and they come across dark hounds and all this stuff, and so they see weird stuff happening. So they figure that this is Talviran, you know, the pattern bending itself around him, and so they determine that they're headed in the right direction. So they go and follow Rand.
So Perrin and the gang come across a stone dog Aiel named Gaul, and because of their, I guess because of Perrin's similarities, the whole wolf thing, and just because he feels bad for him, I guess he sets him free and befriends Gaul, and because of this,
he's an Aiel.
Yeah, and because of this act of kindness, a new member joins the party, joins the gang, and well, not just Gaul, but Fael.
Yeah,
and so now Fael's with him, and
she witnesses it.
Yeah,
right?
she sees him free him, and so anyway, even though there's a little bit of weird tension, chemistry going on, they both act like Perrin and Fael both act like they hate each other and they're loathsome against each other, but there's obviously something there. Right. So anyway, then we flip back over, and Matt is taken by Nynaeve and Egwene and Elaine, and who else?
Varen.
Varen, that's right.
Very Sedai.
And they take him, and he gets put in a group with some Aes Sedai who use a Sa'angreal to heal him of the corruption from the dagger. Finally,
Yay!
So he's free of the dagger and can go about his business.
So at the White Tower, the Amyrlin seat, Swan Sanche, brings Nynaeve and Egwene into her chambers and says, "I have a mission for you." And they're like, "Okay, we're novices." Or Egwene is
novice and accepted, right?
Egwene is still a novice. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't think she's even accepted yet. And so we're little baby people, but sure. And she said, "Well, you're the only people I trust, and it's because you're coming in and you're new. I don't trust." So there really is a Black Aja. Oh no, because there's different Ajas, and the Black Aja are people that have turned to the Dark One. And so they said, "You're going to be my dogs, and you're going to go hunt the Black Aja." And they're like, "Okay, I guess." So they do that, and then Elaine kind of gets conscripted. The Amyrlin wanted that to happen, but she didn't feel like she could overtly ask. And so they decide they're going to go hunt the Black Aja, and so they need to go to Tyr. So Elaine wants to communicate with her mother and let her know some of the things that are going on. And so she writes a letter and she gives it to Matt to deliver. And Matt's kind of like, I guess, whatever. Sure, because he's, whatever. And as he's trying to leave and some weird stuff happens, he starts to discover that he is lucky. Something's going on there. And he discovers that he's lucky, and while he's leaving, he also meets up with Tom Maryland, who is kind of in a bit of a pitiful state at that point. But he meets up with Tom Maryland, and they both decide to go together. They go to Andor to deliver the letter to the Queen. And while there, Matt discovers that there is this new person who's replaced I can't even think of his name, the guy that used to be her advisor, who's out living in the country now or whatever. But and the guy that's replaced him is Lord Gabriel. And Matt discovers that there is a plot by Lord Gabriel to murder Elaine, the daughter of Queen Morghese. And so he decides, okay, we better go to Tyr and rescue Elaine.
All right, so next in Tyr, the girls, Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene, meet up with Julian Sandar, who is a thief catcher, and he's going to help them. So they kind of enlist his help, but then unknowingly that he is actually under control of the Black Aja through Leandrin, yeah. And so he betrays them. They get all locked up, and they're all sad and everything, and I think they're kind of mad.
Egwene tries some dream stuff.
Yeah,
tries to get out that way.
Yeah, but they can't figure out a way out. So luckily, Matt. Yeah. Matt comes along, and even though they really don't think that they need his help, he helps them get out. And it is thanks to him that they get out, because if he hadn't come along, they would have never. Well, I guess Rand probably would have come along eventually after a little bit. But anyway, so they get out, and then Rand faces off with Balal, a Forsaken. Yep, in the Stone of Tyr, and. Before he kills him, they're kind of fighting, and then Moiraine comes in, and she strikes Balal down with balefire.
So scary.
Yeah.
So they're there, and crazy things happen, and Balal's down, but then Baalzamon shows up, and he disables Moiraine. And so Rand is stuck, and he's got to fight Baalzamon, the Dark One. Oh no! And so he's like, well, I'm the Dragon Reborn, dang it. And so it's more like, I guess I'll do it. And he pulls Kalendor, the mighty Ungreal, and he gets filled to bursting with the power. And he defeats Baalzamon again for the third time. And so he defeats Baalzamon. And also, while this is happening, there are tons of Aiel show up, and they sweep through and conquer the Stone of Tyr in Rand's name and in loyalty to him. And so the stone is captured. Rand has taken Kalendor, so he's definitely the Dragon Reborn. Yay, title. And so then that's basically it. At the end, everybody's celebrating, and Perrin and everybody are, yay, the Dark One's dead. We killed the Dark One. And it's over forever and ever. Amen. And Moraine says, well, actually...
we still have 11 books
Yeah,
left.
exactly. That wasn't the Dark One.
No.
Balsamon wasn't the Dark One. He doesn't have a physical form. He's trapped in Shale Ghul. That was probably, she says, that was probably Ishamael, who's, the king of the Forsaken. So, yay. But we're not even close.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too terribly long. So now we're going to talk about our pros, the things we really liked about this book. So I guess go ahead and get started.
So the first pro that we have talked about is the beginning of Perrin and Fael's love story and relationship. It's funny and it's sweet. It's one of the best. I mean, it's fairly quick in a way because it's like love at first sight, but very opposed to it. I don't know. It's a little bit that way, but it's one of the better built relationships in Wheel of Time, as far as I can tell so far. It's not something that Robert Jordan's great at overall, seems like, but it's real sweet. This back and forth of, oh, I hate you, whatever, and then we can see this love growing, and whatever, in spite of the facade on the surface, and then leading all the way up to Fael getting trapped and stuck in this basically dream world, and Perrin he's been totally opposed to using his wolf sensing abilities, but to save Fael, he chooses to do that and risk his life and go in, and it's a cool little thing.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is. So our second second good thing is when Matt comes in to save the girls. So we've got these 3 girls who are all pretty, strong, independent, bickering women,
big babies,
who get trapped in there. They can't figure out any way, no matter how powerful and how much ponytail pulling they do.
Well, they try some cool stuff too.
They do.
Whatever.
They do. No matter how powerful they are, though, they can't get out. And so it takes just a regular guy who doesn't
lucky.
have any powers. Yeah. Mr. Luck of the Draw.
Yeah. Roll the dice.
Yeah, roll the dice. And he comes along and gets them out. And it's just kind of a comical scene because, they don't need men. They don't need him. Yeah. But they did.
Well, and Julian's with him too. And so they're like, you trapped us here. And he's like, no, I'm good now. I promise.
I've changed. Yeah. No. So anyway,
very funny.
Very good scene.
So our third good thing in this book is the really cool moment when Rand is having a hard time with Belal and they're dueling. And when Moraine works in and she kills him with balefire. I don't think we quite realize the full implications of that until much later. But it's a crazy. It's just really cool. The fact that she was willing to do that is really cool.
So finally, the last thing that we really loved about this book was just the climax of Rand walking up and grabbing onto the end of Kalendor, sword in the stone moment of Knights of the Round Table. What's his name?
King Arthur.
Pulling the sword out and becoming the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah.
It was just a cool final scene. Cool, awesome. Way to round out the book and round out the title and finally give you. You've known all along that he is the dragon, but this is like finally, yes, he really is. And finally he can hopefully start to accept this in his own way. He kind of has started to, more so from now on, and allow him to actually focus on building his abilities and all that. So
Absolutely.
first cool use of really an Angreal, right? From a man size side.
Maybe so.
I'm not sure. Anyway, very cool scene.
Yeah.
All right.
Now we're going to balance out the pros and the good things about the book, and there certainly are some good things about this book, with some cons. Now, we're going to talk again about the pacing. Our first con is kind of that this book is really quite slow, and I don't know. I've thought about this before. I was reading. I try to read not too much articles and things because spoilers. But a lot. It's a lot of people's favorite book, and a lot of, and I don't know if it's partially this book, because people said it's so great, and this is a turning point, and it is a turning point because Rand finally does accept. So I don't know if it was that or not, but this was not my favorite book so far. Yeah. I mean, it was probably my least favorite of the first three. It's pretty slow. I know the argument that Robert Jordan is writing this big, beautiful masterpiece and has to build up all these other things. I get that. There's a lot of repetitive stuff, and this particular book was real slow for a lot of the book, even more than the first couple in my opinion.
And speaking on that, I do totally agree with what you're saying, that yes, Robert Jordan is building this great, humongous world building, awesome world, but there could have been some things that he didn't do so many times, didn't say so many times. The stuff about all the every time he sees a woman, this is how she looks every time. It doesn't matter what anything about her, she's always going to look this very specific way.
Like they're fairly similar in the descriptions.
Yes. Yeah, and there's I don't know. Yeah, there's just so much
the way he
repetition.
describes what people are thinking is very repetitive.
Yeah.
We keep cracking on Rand
and
and Matt know
were
about,
here,
know about
they could tell me
and
about
that's
women.
not at all the only thing that's repeated over and over again. And I've heard some people talk about the fact that when these books were released fairly far apart, and so some of it is basically recap. I don't know that even that being, so you can kind of forgive it a little bit in that there is stuff in there that doesn't have to be in there, and this one is more so.
And I think the biggest thing, at least for me, and I feel certain that it's for him too, is we love so many different pieces of lore. There's so many things out there that we want to experience and read and listen to and watch and whatever. And for something that could have maybe taken, at least a third out of the whole 14 books, could have taken a third of the time or words down. Mm-hmm. Maybe not quite that much, maybe even a quarter or a fifth, whatever. Mm-hmm. Taking that off just so we didn't have all this repetition and kind of shrunk some of it, not taking away from its grandeur, not taking away from the magic system or all the awesome stuff that he does have in the books, with some good relationships, some good character building, character arcs are amazing, all that kind of stuff. Not taking away from those, but some of the stuff that is just repetition and that is just a little bit almost oh my gosh, I can't think of the writer's name right now.
Stephen King.
Stephen King. Some a little bit like Stephen King, where it's just like kind of rabbit trails. And I get that his rabbit trails, Stephen King's rabbit trails are a little bit more pointless. They're just kind of rabbit trails for rabbit trail's sake, just because he wants to write about something. And Robert Jordan's are more specifically to preemptive, some things in the future, foreshadow stuff or world build. Yeah. And so there's good to it, but it's still, for me, and I'm not saying, not everybody's going to agree with this. That's totally fine. But that, I think, is the biggest thing. Is I would rather spend that 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours that we could have saved in the 14 books. doing something else, reading, watching some more Avatar, or reading some more Star Wars books, or looking into, who knows, some more StarCraft stuff. I've been getting into looking at kind of the lore of StarCraft. I played the games years ago, and have watched all the cutscenes from the original game and all the cutscenes from.
So speaking of rabbit trail,
that was not a rabbit trail.
it was a Protoss trail.
All right, so
what's our second con?
So second con. So our second con after the big.
We spent a long time on that
rabbit trail of length and speed of the book. Yeah. Our second rabbit trail. Our second con is that Rand it's named the Dragon Reborn, and yet he plays a very small. I mean,
his presence is felt in every bit of it, which is true.
Yeah, but he just plays very small parts in the beginning and the end. He's barely seen. He's not in it. And so that's our con number 2. What's our con number 3?
Con number 3 is a bunch of bickering, whiny teenage girls. Well, I don't know about teenage. I don't know how old they are. It's kind of a weak con in a way, because I don't know that it was that terrible. But they were, and it wouldn't be a con at all if Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine weren't constantly bickering through the entire book. I mean, every time they are on the page, they are squabbling about something. And it's and it's true to life in a way, I mean, and I don't mean that like all girls bicker all the time. That's not what I mean. Don't take that way, because that's not what I mean. But
don't hear what I'm not saying.
Yeah, don't hear what I'm not saying. But young people bickering and having that kind of, I mean, that's not everybody, but it's and Robert Jordan wanted to write more realistic characters, and so it's realistic, and to an extent, but it's still annoying,
repeated way too much.
Well, and that too, So anyway, that's our third con is the constant bickering of the 3 girls, and that's it.
All right, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a thumbs down. But hey, if you have something else to say about the book, we would love to hear from you. We
Absolutely.
know the Wheel of Time community seems to be awesome, seems to be filled with people that really, really care about these books. Mm-hmm. And we do too. We really enjoy them. Mm-hmm. Our take on them may be a little bit different, but not in means of offense or anything like that. So. Yeah. So don't hear what we're not saying. We love them. So if you haven't subscribed, hit the little subscribe button down below.
That red thing.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
And you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.
See you later.